Hi, I'm Patrick Reagan. Welcome to the Operating Systems Part 2 OS Installations and Upgrades. This video gives you an overview of installing and upgrading operating systems in general, including the types of installations and associated boot methods. It also covers necessary post-installation tasks. As always, stick around for the practice questions at the end to test your knowledge and help you prepare for the A+ exam. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to click the like button. If you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel for more tech training content and technical know-how. Installing an operating system is the process of loading and configuring the OS files onto a computer storage drive, allowing the computer to boot up and run applications. This involves using bootable installation media, such as USB drive or CD/DVD, to initiate the process, selecting the desired installation type, like a fresh, clean install or an in-place upgrade, creating partitions on the hard drive if necessary, and then copying and configuring the OS files. The installation culminates in settings of user accounts, drivers, and other personalized settings to get the system ready for use. The types of OS installation include the following. Clean installation. This involves erasing all data on the storage drive and installing a fresh copy of the operating system. It is a good way to improve performance by removing old files and software conflicts. Upgrade installation. This method installs a new version of the OS over an existing one while preserving your personal files, settings, and applications. However, it can sometimes carry over underlying software issues. Repair installation. This option reinstalls the OS to repair damaged system files and settings without affecting user data. It is often used to fix issues where the system is not functioning correctly. And image-based installation. In corporate settings, an entire disk or image of a standard OS configuration can be copied to multiple computers at once, ensuring consistency and efficiency. Installing an operating system can vary slightly depending on the hardware, but the general process is similar across Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, including the following high-level steps. Preparation include choosing your OS, checking hardware requirements, backing up data, and getting the installation media. Then, booting from the installation media, you begin the process by powering on the computer and loading the OS files from the installation media, such as a bootable USB drive, DVD, or over a network. To do this, you typically need to access the computer's BIOS or UEFI settings to prioritize the installation media in the boot order. Next, preparing the disk. For a fresh or clean installation, the process includes creating and formatting partitions on the hard drive, which will erase all data on the target partition and sets up a file system like NTFS for Windows to organize the OS files. Copying files and configuring settings. The installer copies the necessary OS files to the formatted drive and then prompts you to select options like language, time zone, and keyboard layout. You may also be asked to provide a license key. Device driver and software installation. The installer configures the OS to recognize your computer's hardware, loading the necessary device drivers so that all components function correctly. It also sets up the default application and system services. Next, restarting and final setup. The computer will restart several times during the process to finalize settings. After the last reboot, you'll be guided through creating a user account and other personalization options before the desktop loads. Post-installation steps include rebooting to the new OS, perform updates, installing additional drivers, and installing applications. When installing an operating system, there are several boot methods that determine how the installer loads and begins the installation process. Universal Serial Bus, or USB, solid-state and flash drives are a common method where the OS installer files are stored on a USB drive, which is then formatted to be bootable. Network or PXE boot, also known as booting from the LAN, allows the computer to load an operating system from a network server, often used in corporate environments. Internet-based includes some operating systems that can be installed directly by downloading the installer from the internet, which requires a stable internet connection. External hot swappable drive refers to any external storage device, including USB and other portable drives from which the computer can boot to initiate an OS installation. Internal hard drive or partition is the OS installer is loaded from a dedicated partition on the internal hard drive, which could be a traditional HDD or flash-based SSD, which is then used to install the operating system onto another partition. And multi-boot, where this is a broader concept where a system is set up to have multiple bootable options, including different operating systems or bootable installation media, allowing the user to choose which one to load. Home users most often use USB boot. Enterprise IT often uses Pixie Network Boot or pre-configured partitions. OEMs, including Apple, rely heavily on internet-based and recovery partition methods. And lastly, power users and testers may use multi-boot or external drives. This table shows the various boot methods. The two most common are the USB boot and network boot. While USBs are portable, cheap, and widely supported, it doesn't require preparing a USB and compatible ports. Network boot or Pixie boot allows you to perform installations over the network, which is usually found in enterprises where there is a need for mass deployments. However, you have to set up a network infrastructure and servers to support these deployments. However, it will save you a lot of time and effort in the future. The other forms of installations are done over the internet or off of another drive. Types of installation can be broken down to user-focused installs, enterprise or large-scale installs, and recovery and repair. User-focused installs include clean installs and upgrades. During the clean install, the process involves completing erasing the existing operating system data on a drive or partition and installing a fresh copy of the OS from scratch. This is a good way to refresh your system and resolve persistent performance issues. During upgrade, an in-place upgrade updates the operating system while preserving the user's existing data, applications, and settings. The installer typically offers a choice between a standard upgrade and a clean installation. Enterprise and large-scale installs include image deployment and remote network installation. During image deployment, the method involves creating a pre-configured image of an operating system and then deploying that image to multiple computers simultaneously. It's sufficient for setting up many identical systems with specific configurations. Remote network installation is a method of installing an operating system over a network connection. It allows for automated, user-minimum installations, often with pre-configured company settings and across multiple systems. Recovery and repair include recovery partitions and repair installations. During the recovery partition, a hidden partition on the computer's hard drive that contains an image of the operating system and other essential files, allowing the user to reinstall or repair the OS without needing external installation media. And lastly, repair installation, also known as an in-place upgrade, as the process overrides corrupted or missing OS files to fix system issues while keeping user file settings and installed applications intact. This slide shows a table of the various installation methods. The only thing to point out here is the zero-touch deployment, which uses one of the other installation methods, such as remote network installations, that after it is initiated, you just sit back and wait until the installation is completed with no interaction needed. You can even configure zero-touch installation using the USB boot method. Other critical considerations when installing an operating system including preparing your hardware and data, configured settings during installation, and performing essential tasks immediately after the OS is up and running. Pre-installation considerations should include meet system requirements. Verify that your hardware, processor, RAM, storage, or graphics card meets or exceeds the minimum specifications for the OS version you intend to install. This ensures good performance and functionality. Check components for compatibility. Some advanced or specialized hardware may not work correctly with the new OS. Before installation, use Device Manager on Windows or check the manufacturer's website for known issues with the new OS. Update the BIOS or UEFI. Before installing a new OS, especially a newer version like Windows 11, check for and install any available firmware updates for your computer's motherboard. And create bootable installation media. You'll need an official or uncorrupted installation media, such as a USB flash drive or DVD. Tools like Rufus or the Microsoft Media Creation Tool can be used to create a bootable media from a downloadable ISO file. Data and system preparation will include the following. Perform a full data backup. Backup of all important files, documents, photos, and settings to an external hard drive or cloud storage. This is the most crucial step, as a fresh OS installation will likely format the hard drive and erase your data. However, it is still recommended to even do backups before you do an upgrade in case something goes wrong. Locate product keys and licenses. If you use licensed software, find the product keys for your operating system and in important applications such as Microsoft Office. You may need to deactivate some licenses before reinstallation. Inventory applications. Make a list of all your programs you use so that you can reinstall them easily after the OS is installed. If possible, export program-specific settings. For post-installations, you should consider the following. Update the operating system. After the installation is complete, run the system's update utility, such as Windows Update, to download and install the latest security patches and system updates. Install necessary drivers. While modern OS installers include many drivers, you should visit the hardware manufacturer's website for the most recent custom drivers for your chipset, graphics card, audio device, and network card. Install security software. Set up a firewall and install antivirus and anti-malware software before connecting to the internet or installing other applications. Reinstall applications and restore data. Reinstall your software and restore your backed up data. And lastly, configure system settings. Adjust settings like power options, display resolution, sound levels, and privacy settings to your preferences. During the fresh installation of an operating system, you'll need to partition and format the drive. Partitioning a drive is the process of dividing a physical storage device, like a hard drive or SSD, into one or more logical sections called partitions. Each partition acts like a separate volume, allowing you to format and manage it independently with its own file system. Think of partitioning as setting up the boundaries for the logical drives. During operating system's installation, you perform partitioning to divide your hard drive into sections or partitions for the OS or other data, choosing between the older MBR and modern GBT partition styles. GBT is for UEFI systems and large drives, while MBR is for older BIOS systems or smaller drives. Remember, MBR only supports up to 2 TB drives and up to 4 partitions. You also perform formatting, which creates a file system like NTFS for Windows on each partition, preparing it to store files. You typically select a new unallocated space for installation, letting the OS set up the necessary partitions and format them. For more information about partitioning and formatting a drive, visit the CompTIA A+ Storage Devices, Part 5, Preparing a Drive for Usage video. Common file systems used today include the following. File Allocation Table 32, or FAT32, is an older file system that still sees use in some contexts due to its wide compatibility with various devices and operating systems, though it has a limitation with large files and partition sizes. New Technology File System, or NTFS, is the primary and default file system for modern Windows operating systems, providing robust features like journaling, file encryption, compression, and permissions. Resilient File System, or REFS, is a more modern file system than NTFS, used primarily with Windows Server enterprise-grade solutions and large-scale storage environments that are designed for data integrity and scalability, which are critical in server and virtualization scenarios. Extensible File Allocation Table, or exFAT, is a modern successor to FAT32 designed to overcome size limitations and provide better compatibility for flash drives and external storage across Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Fourth Extended File System, or ext4, is a widely used and default file system for many Linux distributions, known for its journaling and support for large files. Extended File System, or XFS, is optimized for high-performance computing. XFS is often used on Linux servers and handles large files and parallel input-output operations efficiently. And Apple File System, or APFS, is the default file system for modern Mac OS and iOS devices, offering performance improvements, advanced data integrity features, and better performance on solid-state drives. For more information about partitioning and formatting a drive, visit the CompTIA A+ storage devices Part 6 File Systems video. Upgrading any system requires careful consideration of potential risks and benefits. Critical issues to address include preparing for potential data loss, confirming that applications and drivers will function properly on the new version, and verifying that your hardware can support the update. Before starting any major system upgrade, creating a backup of your important files and settings is essential to prevent data loss if something goes wrong. Create a full system image. Use disk imaging software to create a complete backup of your entire machine, and this allows you to restore your system to its previous state if the upgrade fails. Copy critical data. Independently backup essential documents, photos, and other files to an external storage device or cloud service like Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive. Note user-specific settings. Be aware that some upgrades, particularly clean installations, may not retain user preferences and custom configurations. An upgrade can impact the functionality of your existing software and peripherals. The following steps will help you check for compatibility issues before you install the update. Check compatibility reports. For Windows upgrades, use the Microsoft Intune Admin Center to run compatibility reports for applications and drivers. Test in a pilot environment. In the business settings, test the upgrade on a new device before a full rollout. This helps identify any issues with applications or network compatibility before they affect all users. Research third-party applications. Verify with the software manufacturer whether your key applications are supported by the new operating system. Check for any known issues or required updates. And update device drivers. After the upgrade, you may need to install the latest driver for certain hardware components, such as graphic cards and network adapters, to ensure optimal performance. Hardware compatibility. New software often requires more powerful hardware. Check that your current components meet or exceed the minimum system requirements for the version you plan to install. Verify system requirements. Before starting, check the operating system's vendor's website for the minimum required CPU speed, RAM, and storage space. Feature updates are a major release that includes new features, significant improvements, and enhanced functionality for an operating system, effectively delivering a new version of the OS. Feature updates differ from quality updates, which are smaller, more frequent releases that provide security fixes and minor stability improvements. Characteristics of feature updates include annual release cycle. On Windows 10 and 11, feature updates are released annually in the second half of the calendar year. For example, feature update would take Windows 11 device from version 23H2 to 24H2. It includes significant changes. These updates introduce new features, visual redesigns, and other major enhancements that change the user experience. OS upgrade. Installing a feature update is essentially an operating system upgrade. It is a larger, more time-consuming process than a quality update and requires a full reinstallation of the OS. Support lifecycle. A new feature update starts a new support cycle. For Windows 11, this is a 24 months for Home and Pro editions and 36 months for Enterprise and Education editions. Microsoft is still supporting Windows 11, but they will stop supporting older versions of Windows 11. However, upgrade to a new feature version is free for properly licensed Windows. Commutative. Feature updates are commutative, meaning they also include all previous quality and security updates. An operating system product lifecycle is the total period during which the OS is updated, maintained, and supported by its manufacturer. The lifecycle consists of multiple stages from the product's general availability until it is no longer supported with security updates. This process helps businesses and individuals plan for upgrades and manage the security risks associated with running outdated software. For example, a version of Microsoft Windows follows this lifecycle, receiving different types of support in each phase: mainstream support, extended support, or end of life or EOL, and end of support or EOS. Note, the specific names and durations of each stage can vary by vendor, such as Apple, Linux distributions, or Microsoft. Each OS version is based on version number, which will have their own OS product lifecycle. For mainstream support, is the first and most comprehensive phase during which the OS is actively supported with a full range of services. The duration typically lasts for several years after the OS is initially released. The vendor provides new feature updates, security updates, reliability fixes, and service packs. Technical assistance and no charge incident supports are available. And the vendor may also accept requests to change the product design and features. After mainstream support ends, the OS enters an extended support phase. Support becomes more limited with a focus on critical security. The duration can last for several more years. Only security updates are provided for free. Non-security fixes are generally not offered. Free incident support is no longer available, but paid support may be offered. Some organizations can pay for extended security updates beyond this phase for the legacy systems that cannot be immediately migrated. Question: you need to install an operating system on a large number of workstations. Which of the following is the fastest method? Answer: image deployment. Question: you are tasked with migrating several PCs from Windows 10 Pro to Windows 11 Pro. The technician must ensure files and user preferences are retained, must perform the operation locally, and should migrate one station at a time. Which of the following methods would be most efficient? Answer: in-place upgrade. Question: you need to prepare a laptop running Windows 11 for a newly hired employee. Which of the following methods should the technician use to refresh the laptop? Answer: clean install. Question: you're configuring a new server that requires a bare metal installation. Which of the following installation methods should the engineer use if installation media is not available on site? Answer: remote network installation. Question: a corporation purchased new computers for a school. The computers are the same make and model and need to have the standard image loaded. Which of the following orchestration tools should a desktop administrator use for a wide-scale deployment? Answer: Pixie Boot. Question: which of the following is the quickest way to move from Windows 10 to Windows 11 without losing data? Answer: in-place upgrade. Question: what should you do before doing any type of upgrade on an operating system? Answer: make sure you have a backup of the system, applications, and data that is not saved on the computer you are upgrading. For more information, visit these sites. In summary, Installing an operating system is the process of loading and configuring the OS files onto a computer storage drive, allowing the computer to boot up and run applications. Clean installation involves erasing all data on the storage drive and installing a fresh copy of the OS. It is a good way to improve performance by removing old files and software conflicts. Upgrade installation installs a newer version of the OS over an existing one while preserving your personal files, settings, and applications. However, it can sometimes carry over underlying software issues. Image-based installation, which is used in corporate settings, the entire disk image of a standard OS configuration can be copied to multiple computers at once, ensuring consistency and efficiency. When installing an operating system, there are several boot methods that determine how the installer loads and begins the installation process, including USB, network PXE boot, and internet-based. An operating system product lifecycle is the total period during which the OS is updated, maintained, and supported by its manufacturer. The lifecycle consists of multiple stages from the product's general availability until it is no longer supported with security updates. Thank you for watching this video. This completes the operating system series of videos. The next series will be Windows installation. If you like this video, click the like button. If you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel. Thank you.